Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today I'm joined by the CEO and founder of the Portfolio Collective, Mr. Ben. How are you today, Ben?
Very well, thank you.
Welcome to the show. Privileged to have you. And I guess let's just this conversational ball rolling with an overview of what the Portfolio Collective is.
Sure. So the Portfolio Collective, we launched during lockdown. And the goal, the mission is to help professionals set up and optimize their own portfolio career. With a portfolio career being effectively a career that doesn't have one full-time job, but has multiple sources of income, etc. Basically, we thought a lot more people need a career like this and no one's helping them. And so we thought, let's give it a go.
So you say you were launched in lockdown. Was the idea always there, or did the idea come during lockdown?
Definitely during lockdown. So it's kind of a fun evolution, which is, so I have what I now call a portfolio career. I didn't when I started it just over a year ago. I didn't know the word existed or the phrase. But yeah, my portfolio career is focused on things like mentoring startup CEOs, a bit of angel investing, the odd speech, the odd bit of consulting, etc. And at the beginning of lockdown, a few of the things I was planning got cancelled, like conferences, etc. So I had a bit of free time, and I had a lot of friends and family say, can I get some career advice? I've just been put on furlough, I've been laid off, or quite frankly, I've just been reflecting on life and my old job sucks and I fancy a change. And so I would say what people do on lockdown when they have time, here's a Zoom link, let's chat. But as lockdown went on, I got busier and busier because I work with startups. A lot of them were either tripling in size and trying to keep the wheels on, or needed to pivot to survive. And so I got busier and busier with my clients. So after what I decided to do is each time someone asked me for career advice, I said, okay, here's a Zoom link. I'll see you Wednesday. And I ended up with like 4, 5, 6 people per week, and we chatted about careers. Then I realized, found some software that said you can charge people to attend a Zoom. I thought, I'll charge people $25, strangers, not friends and family, and see what happens. And people started paying. And then I thought, wow, people are paying. I better say something intelligent. so I started doing some research into the future of work and what's going on in the jobs market, etc. And basically, the core realization was there are very few permanent jobs, and there are more and more people applying for every single one. And so it's going to be incredibly hard. And so giving people advice on how to find a permanent job wasn't the best use of my time or their time. So whereas there's more and more portfolio work, because all these companies that are reducing permanent headcount still have new work that needs to get done, but they tend to be outsourcing it to interims, consultants, experts, advisory boards, whatever it might be, part-timers. And so I'm going to focus there because A, that's where the growth is. B, it's kind of what I have, so I can talk about what I do. And it just came from there, really. It turned into a weekly portfolio career workshop that then turned into a business.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is that at what point did you think to yourself, actually, this can be business, rather than just being sort of the night giving up your time on a Wednesday? Obviously, it evolved into something much more than that. So you must have had that relation with yourself.
Yeah, I did. And again, it was kind of led by other people's needs, not by my desire to build a company.
You've effectively been dragged into doing this business.
Yeah, but by the way, I love it. But it was what is happening. I was having these weekly workshops, and people would say things like, "There's all these work platforms out there. What's the best one for me?" And I would say, "I don't know." And they said, "Well, how should I pay myself? Should I pay myself in dividends or salary?" I said, "I don't know." And this came up with more and more questions. It's like, how do I pick a focus? I've got like 10 passions. Which one do I pick? I said, I don't know. How much should I charge? I don't know. And I hate saying I don't know. And so I said there must be somewhere, with all these answers, and there just wasn't somewhere with all those answers.
Wow.
And at some stage, someone actually said to me very bluntly, it's a very cool creative lady in New York who was trying to embark on a portfolio career, said, do you not realize that you should just form an organization that does this? You're good at it, but there's so many unanswered questions. Why don't you give it a shot? And I thought about it, and I just thought, actually, most of the coolest companies are formed in lockdowns, in recessions, etc. Because there's lots of change of behavior going on in recessions. Maybe this is a massive change in the way people work, and I should actually try and sort of get in at the center of the conversation and build an organization to help.
And the rest is history, as they say.
Well, yeah, only a few months of history.
Very recent history. Very recent
yeah.
history.
Yeah.
But for you've got an extremely impressive background in being involved in Google and all these sort of big name players. For you, how has the adjustment been in the last couple of months? Obviously, with lockdown, you've been doing your consultancy work with startups, and then this new. I mean, this definitely sounds more like a project from passion, because you obviously enjoy helping people to something that fuels you. How have you found juggling sort of this new project coming up, and like I said before the call, that it's growing really, really nicely. So how have you managed that?
So it's managing, basically building the portfolio collective while having a portfolio career.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a juggling act. So obviously my portfolio work was easy, filling 40 plus hours and growing fast a week, and yet building a startup takes time and love and attention. So I guess there's a few things going on. Number one is hire a great team fast. So at the moment, the portfolio collective is 100% funded by me, but over time we'll probably do a raise at some stage. And I said, right, I need a great team of pretty senior people who can work with me only sort of 50% engaged. So I actually very quickly hired a COO and a CMO, and then very quickly on the back of that, a CTO. So the four of us are co-founders together, and there's actually a fantastic chemistry, partly luck, hopefully some judgment in there. But it's quite a good self-managing team. Everyone challenges each other, supports each other, etc. And it also means I only have 3 direct reports, which is easier than saying having 8 or 10 or whatever. So that's one area, is just have a great team. Another is I stopped pitching for more work with my portfolio career, because my existing clients and portfolio of CEOs are getting demanding enough as it is. And the final one, which I will hopefully close this weekend, is I'm hiring myself a chief of staff for my portfolio work, who can take some of the activities off my hands to help get my sort of my weekly commitment down a bit.
Love it. It's so clear that you have that on the business approach to looking at things, which as we know is pretty much the only way that you grow a business. How have you changed yourself in terms of doing this business out there, growing it and evolving, of having that happy Wednesday calls to the business? Did you have to change the offer or anything like that?
We're changing it almost every week. So
Shocker.
Because we haven't changed the mission, but we're changing what we're doing. So
it's all about
the mission is very much help people. Well, at the very macro level, it's help solve unemployment. But at the sort of at the work level, it's help people launch and sustain portfolio careers. And so in the early stages, we thought, what do we need to do? Probably this would be a lot of training on all the stuff that you need to learn to have a portfolio career. So that was, part of it is a training element and a sort of knowledge and research element. Then we said it should probably be some good networking, because people need mentors. It was very hard for anyone to find a mentor. So some kind of get a mix of inexperience and experience and help people find mentors. Then we said we should probably have some kind of communication platform, which initially I was thinking might just be WhatsApp or something, really basic stuff. But we're now going down the route of actually having a kind of more of a social network, kind of like a LinkedIn, but for portfolio professionals, in which you can have your own profile, collaborate with others, find a mentor. Over time, there could well be job boards and other things on there, but all focused around portfolio work as opposed to permanent jobs. So it's kind of, it keeps evolving, but it's kind of, it's getting sort of more and more coherent, I'd say. It started off with some good ideas that we said, let's run at that. And then it's like, well, now we've got 20 ideas. Let's narrow them down to 3 or 4, and have a work track for each one of the things that we need to deliver.
What's your favorite part around a business? Because as you're saying that, thinking that is what I love doing. I love having that that top level funnel, putting all the ideas in, getting it down, and kind of creating the how. Like for me, that's exactly what I love doing. I'm curious to know, in business, what's your favorite part?
So I'm at the very core, I am a builder. I'm actually a civil engineer, so I actually really am a builder. Built a lot of bridges and stuff like that. So I don't do civil engineering anymore, but I like to build. I like to see things grow. I like to see teams evolve. I like to see people grow. I like to see products get better. I like to see website traffic grow. I like to see engagement grow. So like growth and healthy, sustainable growth.
Yeah.
The other one with the Portfolio Collective is I love helping our members' lives get better. So we're still technically in beta. We'll probably come out of beta kind of 12th of October. We've kind of had a line in the sand. But we've already got about 300 members without ever asking for anyone to join. I love it when they come to a workshop or an event and maybe we teach them something, or maybe they teach each other something, or maybe just a light bulb goes off and people say, wow, that was amazing. And just kind of people saying, yeah, I hadn't really thought about how to position myself that way, or thanks for that tip on a sales pitch last week. I just used it and it worked, or whatever it might be. Trying to just, make people's lives just a bit better every week is something that we are trying to sort of, we're doing well now, but at a small scale. So one of the big challenges ahead is how do you do that at scale? And that's going to get harder.
I mean, yeah, I think one of the biggest questions that a lot of people have in terms of their business when they get certain milestones, kind of like, well, where can we take this baby? Where can we take this beast? For you, you obviously mentioned that you're probably going to go through a funding run soon or in the near future, and that big top level purpose of solving unemployment. I mean, that's a big ballsy sort of idea, and kudos to you for being the one that will do that. But for you, does that excite you? Does that scare you? Does that just really fuel you? Because it's attainable, I guess, at some level.
It definitely fuels me. I've spent my whole life with half my head in the future, wishing it would come faster. And then suddenly coronavirus comes along and the future comes along and punches you in the face. And it's like, thank you for that. Let's rumble. And so it's kind of, for me, it's way more exciting than scary. Obviously, there's all sorts of, worrying things going on in society, but there's so many opportunities to change the way the world works. And, obviously we're focused on the world of work, but healthcare is changing really fast. Education is changing really fast. Travel is changing, or transportation is changing really fast. There's so many other things too. But I just find it exciting, saying we can help millions of professionals basically have a career that's more enjoyable, more entertaining, fits better with their lifestyle, pays better, and is more future-proof. So that's just kind of really exciting.
I mean, it's a great position, especially now, I think, because so many people have spent the last 6 months kind of reflecting on what they want out of life, what they want out of their career. There's lots of change happening, like we said. I'm curious, because you are someone, like you said, that is kind of always looking into the future. You seem like a very high energy guy, which I love. And how did you handle when the breaks were put, when you couldn't go and do your speed events and things like that? Yeah. Did you have to adjust a lot in terms of personal life?
I did. I think everyone did. So I was kind of I was still ramping up my portfolio career. So I wasn't even at, say, 40 hours a week or whatever. I was probably at 30, and then suddenly it went down to 20. And a couple of speeches got cancelled, and I love traveling, and most speeches would be abroad somewhere fancy. And a consulting gig I was planning got cancelled. And so definitely I had more free time. So what did I do? I took 2 or 3 weeks to reflect a bit. I read some books and articles that I had been intending to read and hadn't had time for. I polished up my website. I actually dropped a little flyer through every single door on my street saying, let's form a WhatsApp group, and got to know the neighbors really well, which is kind of cool. I just kind of did a reflecting, wrote a few articles, and kind of said, right, okay, the world's changing. What's my point of view on a bunch of stuff? Still didn't think about, I'm going to try and focus on the future of work. I just kind of thought, things are changing. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, I also had, in that 2 or 3 weeks, I also had lunch with my wife a few times, which is nice, because normally it's a sandwich.
Always nice, yeah. A pleasant surprise both.
Exactly. And then after a while, I really can't sit still for long. And so what worked for me from a portfolio career perspective is I know a few VC investors, and some of them I haven't talked to for 10 years, but I dropped them a few notes saying, hey, as you know, I like mentoring startup CEOs. If you have any who are growing like crazy and having, growing pains, let me know. Or if they need to pivot to survive, let me know, because they're 2 of my favorite problems. And I ended up with a flood of people saying, yeah, I know a CEO, I'll introduce you now. And that's when suddenly I went crazily busy. And that's when I said all those one-to-one career calls need to be merged into a weekly call to free up time. So in some ways, it was kind of making my portfolio work busier, forced me to get more efficient at helping people launch portfolio careers.
Which is often the way you have to figure out the solution yourself before you can start offering it out to people.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, you know, as things are changing so rapidly still in terms of what we can do and, you know, events and all these other aspects of potential business opportunities. In the short term, what's the idea for Portfolio Collective the next couple of months? Is it carry on doing the online stuff, or you're gonna try and do something a little bit different than others?
So what are the big things the next couple of months? So we've got a course called the Catapult launching on the 12th of October. That's ready. Catapult your career into the future, kind of thing. So that's like a 4-week intense course in which you will actually go through step by step, how do you start or optimize a portfolio career? So how do you define your value? How do you brand yourself? How do you optimize and polish your LinkedIn? How do you build a website? How do you set up a company? How do you pitch for work? How do you price? How do you organize your
foundation?
Yeah, go from like either nothing to something in a month, or from a kind of amateur approach to a professional approach in a month.
Yeah.
So that's a big focus, is just making sure that works. We had an alpha test, a pilot in August, September, went really well, but with 10 people. So, doing that at scale is going to be a lot of focus. The platform for people's profiles and networking went live with the internal team this week. So hopefully we'll go live with the public next week. That's going to then take loads of iterations. We have a learning management platform coming along so that we can run multiple live events simultaneously. That's going to take it. So it's an awful lot about going from just launched to launched and running smoothly and capable of scale. So, right now we only have, 400, 500 visitors a day on the website. That's not bad for 3 months old.
No, that's bad at all.
Given what's happening with the content and the course and just the trajectory, will probably be at 3,000 or 4,000 in 2 weeks' time. But then what else? What other problems does that create? Obviously some nice things like people signing up and creating profiles. But like right now, I get so much inbound messages. Will I be able to cope? Do I need someone to help me cope with messages to me and requests for help? So do we need to scale the team in different things? Can the website cope? There'll be a whole load of problems get created by such crazy scale and scaling. And so I think it's going to be a case of launch the things we've got planned, probably grow 10x in the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then say, what are the problems created, and then stabilize, and then probably go for another 10x over the next month.
It's super exciting times. You mentioned the team earlier, and that you were lucky, not lucky because you are a man of luck. And how important is that environment for you? How important is building that to support you on this next level of growth? Obviously, if you're Xing and more, you're probably going to have to do something in terms of expanding it. But how about that culture side of things?
So the team is just critical, and the reason I say lucky, so I think the fact I've got 3 great co-founders, I put more down to a great process for hiring, really rigorous thought about job descriptions, how you filter, how you test for skills, etc. But the fact that the chemistry is good, and not just between me and each one of them, between the 4 of us, and complementary too. We've got crazy optimists. In case you can't guess who that is,
I wonder.
That would be me. We've got.
I guess also have someone in the team as Ben. Okay. Let's take a step back.
Exactly. We've got people who obsess over detail, people who are focused on the big picture, people who worry more, people who focus on money, people who focus on beauty and user experience, people who focus on tech. So it's kind of it's quite complementary from that perspective. And obviously, as you say, as we scale, we will need, and we're more than 4 co-founders. We're already up at about 12 people, with some more junior people too. But we will need to absolutely keep scaling that. And certainly, I'll never let off on the rigor of the hiring. It's like I've kind of got the process down pretty well. I've been doing a lot of hiring in a lot of fast-moving tech companies for a while, and certainly know that the pain of a bad hire. Not only do you not get the right momentum, but you end up replacing them, having a gap, having bad morale, etc. So although perfection doesn't exist, I'd like to aim for about a 90% success rate of hires for the foreseeable future.
No pressure on yourself then.
Yeah.
No pressure. From where I stand looking at this, it makes me think of, you know, the Japanese bullet train that you guys are going fast and you're going hard, and I love that. I think the concept you've created and the community you've built already is obviously a huge success already, and the next steps is definitely going to be one to watch. One of my final questions to you, Ben, is if you're this kind of person that is going at things 100 miles an hour, how do you make sure that you always is in the race, having that right conversation in that right mind? Because I'm guessing it's quite easy to think about 10 steps ahead when actually you might need to focus on the one or two steps ahead first.
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's not an easy answer, but certainly I think that the vision, I don't think will change much unless it turns out that actually people won't have portfolio careers, which is highly unlikely. So the vision is cool. So if we are a bullet train, it's an interesting analogy. We know where the end of the track is. And so it's really a case of how do we do a mixture of run, but also reflect,
Yeah.
you know, so that you don't end up running in the wrong direction or something like that. At the moment, it's kind of organic. So, you know, being both trying to be visionary and tactical, I've got Google Analytics open all day, every day. I've got HubSpot open all day, every day.
Nice.
So keeping an eye on signups and membership and, you know, emails, etc. I've also got LinkedIn open all day, every day, because it's working very, very well in terms of, you know, building our brand, etc. So there's some really tactical stuff of, are we engaging the community at scale, appropriately, etc. And others in the team are monitoring, you know, tech breakages, whatever it might be as well. So there's a lot of tactical stuff. But at least once a week, we're taking a bit of a step back and saying what's working, what's not working. You know, how do we fine tune the course? We've probably already, we're only whatever we are, say 12 weeks old. We've already had a couple of pivots where we started off thinking we'll launch training first and worry about a platform later. Then we said, no, it should be platform first, then training later. And then the platform took a bit longer than we thought, because effectively we're building a social network, and it turns out it takes more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, just a little bit more, I'm sure.
So we ended up saying, well, let's do both and see what's ready when. It turns out they're both ready in the same week, which is kind of, you know, bizarre. So now we end up with this kind of launch of both the Catapult course and the platform all in the same week.
I bet you love that.
Yeah. Well, on the one hand, it's good for adrenaline rush. It's not so good for prioritizing marketing and communication and other stuff, but we'll make it work.
Luckily, you've got a team around you.
Exactly.
Which is so crucial. Yeah. Ben, listen. I guess my final is how can people find out more about the portfolio?
And the easiest thing would be to either just come to the website. It's www.portfolio-collective.com. And just either read some articles. I also continue to run that Wednesday workshop on Wednesday. So just come to my 1 hour workshop. If you're pretty confident it's for you, probably sign up to the Catapult course. It starts on Monday, the 12th of October. You just need to make sure you got at least 20 hours a week for the next 4 weeks, because that's pretty intense.
That is intense. Ben, listen, thank you so much for coming on. I am going to be watching you guys from afar. I have zero doubt that over the next couple of months, and probably in the next 8 months, that you are really going to make a dent in this. And I think you're, like I said, you're something really special.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks everyone else for listening and watching. This has been Founders 365.